What if I told you that Nintendo, Kodak, and Google invented the future and then destroyed it with their own hands? These were inventions that tried to be a decade ahead of its time, devices that promised to change everything. But the world just looked at them and said, no thank you. From consoles that tried to bring us the virtual reality to companies that literally invented the future, only to bury it themselves. Because let's be honest, if someone had talked to you in '95 about virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and smart glasses, you'd probably think that they were selling snake oil. And yet, many of those ideas actually came back. They succeeded under a different name, a new logo, and most importantly, much better marketing. So today we are looking back at those heroic and slightly tragic attempts to change the world before it was ready for them. Or as I like to call it, when you had the right idea, but the universe had other plans. So stick around and I'll tell you everything about it. In 1995, Nintendo decided that the future was now. Their secret weapon, the Virtual Boy. A console that promised portable virtual reality and ended up giving you a headache after 20 minutes in your couch. The concept was brilliant. 3D graphics, early VR adventures, a totally new immersive experience. But there was one small detail. The screen only displayed red and black, and you had to rest the device on a table and peer inside like a tire robot. And after a few minutes of playing, well, let's just say Nintendo wasn't responsible for your dizziness, eye strain, or the feeling that your eyes had run a marathon. The instructions came with warnings like take breaks every 15 to 20 minutes, eye fatigue and dizziness, blurred vision and nausea, seek medical attention if symptoms persist after stopping play. Basically, they gave you a list of anything that would happen if you use the device. But to be fair, it wasn't a disaster. The Virtual Boy was the first serious attempt at VR on consoles. And many of its ideas inspired a lot of tech like the Nintendo 3DS and even modern VR headsets. In other words, Nintendo failed, yes, but it failed with style. And as a bonus, it became a cult relic. Everyone wants to see it, but almost no one wants to play with it. Now let's jump a few years forward to the late 90s. Around that time came another visionary, the Palm Pilot. Before the iPhone, before smartphones at all, there was this little gadget that could store your schedule, notes, and hopes of becoming a more organized person. For its time, it was revolutionary. Touchscreen, stylus, portable office software. The problem, it was expensive, not exactly user-friendly, and very important detail, it couldn't make phone calls. Yep. People were basically carrying a giant digital calendar. But it left its mark. The Palm Pilot showed the world what the smartphone era would look like. As usual, Apple just had to refine the idea and sell it with style when the iPhone came along. Which, by the way, I've got a video about it if you want to check it after this one. So if you feel guilty for using your phone just to check the time, remember, someone once paid hundreds of dollars to carry around a calendar that couldn't even call anyone. Now let's move to the end of the millennium and the great console war. Sega had one mission: reclaim their throne. Their answer was the Dreamcast, a console that in hindsight looked like it came straight from the future. It actually was the first console with built-in internet, something we take for granted now. But in 1999, it sounded as weird as I'm going to send an email from my couch. Its 128 bits of graphics blew everything else away. And it came with innovations, with the VMU, a memory card with its own LCD screen and minigames. Games like Shenmue offered open worlds, day and night cycles, and full voice acting. Absolutely insane for its time. But fate was cruel. The PS2 was just around the corner, with DVD support, massive marketing, and a loyal army of fans. And Sega, already struggling after the Saturn and 32X flops, couldn't take another hit. Within 2 years, the Dreamcast was gone from the market. A sad ending for a console that had everything to win, but better competition. Still, when it comes to legacy, the Dreamcast was a silent pioneer. It laid the groundwork for early online gaming, interactive menus, digital devices, and even the idea of connecting smaller devices within a larger ecosystem. Today, it's a cult classic, adored by collectors, remembered by its unique games, and without a doubt, way too good for its time. Fast forward to the mid-2000s, Sony decided it didn't just want to compete with consoles. It wanted to compete with NASA itself. Enter the PlayStation 3. When it launched, it was a technological beast. 64-bit processor, integrated Blu-ray, and enough power to make most of the PCs feel outdated. Backwards compatibility with older PlayStations. It was the whole deal. Honestly, it almost made the ear church too. It was so advanced, developers didn't know how to use it. The cell architecture was so complex that developing a game felt like solving a Rubik's Cube with boxing gloves. It took years before developers could unlock its full potential. And the price didn't help. $600. In 2006, that was basically mortgaging your teenage years. And Sony defended it saying, "We want people to work extra hours to afford it." A quote worthy of a corporate supervillain. But the PS3 was right, just too early. It introduced online gaming as we know it today, digital devices, and the foundation for what we now take for granted. It failed until it didn't. In the long run, it outlasted many of their competitors. And now it's remembered as the console that suffered for being too futuristic. Today, we remember it not for just its games, but as a perfect example of how being ahead of its time can hurt. But eventually pays off. And just look at the prices now. It's a highly sought after piece of gaming history, especially the original model that doesn't have the yellow light of death. Now let's go back a bit, early 2000s, when Microsoft tried to reinvent the personal computer. Their bet? Their tablet PC. It was basically a small laptop with touchscreen and a stylus. The idea was fantastic. Work, draw, and write from anywhere. The execution, not so much. Weak hardware, short battery life, and an operating system that basically said, I wasn't built for this. And yet, the concept arrived. As usual, Apple just waited, polished the idea, added a beautiful design, a responsive screen, and, of course, flawless marketing. The result, no one wanted it, but the concept lived on. Apple waited a few years, it came out with the iPad. Microsoft was ahead, yes, but the world was still using mouse, not fingers. And now, let's jump to 2013 to talk about the most cyberpunk attempt of them all, the Google Glass. The dream? Smart glasses that showed notifications, maps, photos, while making you feel a secret agent. The problem? The public wasn't ready. Like, really. Users were labeled glass holes and were banned from cafes, bars, pretty much everywhere. Privacy concerns and general awkwardness made most people stick to pulling their phones out the old-fashioned way. Still, Google was looking into the future, and even though the project died, its ideas live on in augmented reality glasses and assistant vision projects. In short, Google Glass didn't fail, it just arrived in the wrong decade. And finally, the most ironic story of them all. Kodak, the company that made photography a global habit, and unknowingly, it invented its own downfall. In 1975, a Kodak engineer built the first digital camera in history. It used magnetic tape and had a resolution of 0.01 megapixels. The photos looked like they've been taken with a microwave, but it was the beginning of a revolution. The problem? Kodak feared that digital technology would destroy its film business, so they shelved it. They invented the future and locked it away. Years later, other companies perfected the idea, and Kodak ironically went bankrupt, to later come back but not as the same giant as they were before. A brutal reminder that progress doesn't wait for those too afraid to move forward. Sometimes failure isn't the end of an idea. It's just the word saying, I'm not ready yet. Of these technologies, from the Virtual Boy to Kodak's digital camera, were genuine attempts to push the limit of what was possible. Some were a decade ahead, others just a generation, but all left a mark. VR came back. Tablets dominate the market. Smartphones run our lives, and smart glasses are returning, this time with better batteries and less social embarrassment. So next time you see a weird, misunderstood, or too futuristic piece of tech, remember, it might look useless today, but in 10 years, it could be the future. Because the future doesn't forgive those who arrive late, but it doesn't wait for those who arrive too early either. Hold on, I need to take note of that. I am Animations, and if you like the video, you know what to do. Hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Which invention do you think it failed, but it deserved to succeed? Did you or your parents own one of these devices? I'll be rating you. But for now, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.